So, good day, students. Our chapter 3 is all about organic compounds, the alkanes, the alkynes, and so other more. Now, organic compounds are compounds that has carbon-hydrogen bonds, right? Now, as you can see in the slide or in the picture, so that is a tree called the bristlecone pine, which is the oldest living organism on Earth. So the waxy coating on its needles contains a mixture of organic compounds called alkanes, so which is the subject of this chapter. Alkanes are relatively unreactive and not often involved in chemical reactions, but they nevertheless provide a useful vehicle for introducing some important general ideas. So in this chapter, we will use alkanes to introduce the basic approach to naming organic compounds. So what really is organic chemistry? Now, organic chemistry is the study of the compounds of carbon, and organic compounds are made up of carbon covalently linked to atoms of other elements. Mostly, itong carbon na to is bonded to hydrogen, oxygen, or nitrogen. And other carbon naman is bonded to halogens, yung sulfur, phosphorus, chlorine, fluorine. So, yun. Now, we have different functional groups. So, the structural features that make it possible to classify compounds into families are called functional groups. So, functional group is a group of atoms within a molecule that has a characteristic chemical behavior. So we have here, ayan. So, ang ethylene, ayan siya. So, ang functional group ng ethylene is the double bond. Okay? Now, the reactions of ethylene and methane with bromine, ayan. So, in this reaction, both molecules, the carbon to carbon double bond functional group has a similar polarity pattern. So both molecules react with bromine in the same way. The size and the complexity of the molecules are not important with this reaction. So now there are different kinds of or forms of functional groups. So we have functional groups with carbon to carbon multiple bonds, may it be double bond or triple bond. So we have alkenes, alkynes, and the arenes. So alkenes, wherein the carbon is double bonded to another carbon. So from alkane ending in A and E, so nag-e-end na siya ng E and E. So that's alkene. So for example, sa methane is just composed of one carbon. So hindi siya pwedeng magkaroon ng alkene. So possible lang magkaroon ng alkene functional group is from uh, ethane na merong two carbons and up. Okay. So we also have the alkynes. So the alkynes have a triple bond on two carbon atoms. So it ends in Y and E. So just like alkene, nag-exist lang ang alkynes from compounds with two carbons and up. So we have ethyne for this one. This one is H. So this is ethyne. So next we have the arenes. So the arenes have alternating double and single bonds in a six-membered ring of carbon atoms. So it ends in E and E. So we have this arene. And so just like benzene. Okay, so this one this ring, six-membered ring structure is also known as benzene. So we also have functional groups that is singly bonded, wherein a carbon is singly bonded to an electronegative atom. Ayan. So we have different kinds of these functional groups. Now let's have first the alkyl halides. So alkyl halides, also known as a haloalkane, is a compound wherein a carbon atom is bonded to a halogen. So these halogens are the fluoride or the fluorine, the chlorine, the bromine, or the iodine. So these halogens are electronegative atoms. So another is the alcohols. So the alcohols, the carbon atom is bonded to the oxygen of a hydroxyl group. So hydroxyl group is the OH group. Okay. So this is a simple structure of an alcohol. So this one is a methanol. Okay. So we have H hydrogen atoms here. So that makes it an methanol. And it ends in OL, methanol, ethanol, butanol, propanol, and so on and so forth. And we have also ethers. So ethers have two carbon atoms bonded to the same oxygen. So this one, I'll just put the hydrogen atoms here. Okay. So if so, as a ether, it is not possible na isa lang ang kanyang carbon. So, sa two carbons lang siya and up nag-exist yung ating ether. And as you can see here, it's a CH3. So, CH3 is methyl. So, that's alkyl group, methyl. So, this is dimethyl since it's uh, two methyl groups. It's dimethyl ether. Okay. So next we have the organophosphates. So organophosphates have a carbon atom bonded to the oxygen of a phosphate group. So a phosphate group natin is this one, also known as PO4 2 negative. And it ends in phosphate. So this one is a methyl phosphate. Methyl phosphate since meron siyang isang methyl group. Meron din tayong tinatawag na ethyl phosphate. So if this one has another carbon here and hydrogen over here. No. So that's ethyl phosphate kung ganito yung form. So as you can see, organophosphates ay nag-exist even it is only bonded with one carbon. So meron din tayong tinatawag na amines. So amines have a carbon atom bonded to a nitrogen. So kaya amines kasi merong amine group which is the NH2. Okay? Ayan. Also, the name ends in amine. So this one, it has a methyl group. So that's a methyl amine. Okay. Next are the thiols. So thiols have a carbon atom bonded to the sulfur of an SH group. And it ends in the word thiol. Now, hindi siya pwedeng magkaroon ng C here kasi it's another functional group. So, dapat SH lang talaga siya. Okay. So, this one is a methyl thiol. Kasi meron siyang methyl group. Pero kung ito ay meron pa siya ditong, for example, you have C here, and C here, and so on and so forth. So this one is 1, 2, 3, 4. That's propane. So that's propane. So this is a propane thiol. Okay, so this one is a methane thiol. Correction, it's a methane thiol. So pag apat, it's a propane thiol. So we also have the sulfides, okay? And sulfides have two carbon atoms bonded to the same sulfur. Ayan. So this one is an dimethyl sulfide. Ayan. Kasi um, dalawang, ang tawag this, what do you call this? Dalawang methyl group. Ayan. Kaya siya ay dimethyl sulfide. Kaya sinabi ko kanina yung sa tayo, we cannot add carbon here kasi mayroon tayong another functional group na sulfide. Another one is the disulfides. So we have sulfides and disulfides. Disulfides have carbon atoms that are bonded to two sulfurs that are joined together. So the disulfides merong dalawang sulfur atoms na bonded to each other at merong carbon atoms on that are bonded to each of this sulfur. Now, hindi pwedeng this one is just H. So parang that's a sulfide lang. So it's not a disulfide. So this one is dimethyl sulfide. Okay. But if we have CH3 here, so this would named as um, ethyl methyl disulfide. So ganun siya. Ibig sabihin the other group has the ethyl and the other group has the methyl. Okay, so that's ethyl methyl disulfide. So we have another type of functional groups. So these functional groups a carbon uh, has a carbon oxygen double bond or the carbonyl group. So we have here the list of these kind of functional groups. So first we have the aldehydes. So aldehydes have at least one hydrogen bonded to the carbonyl group. And so at least one hydrogen. So at least one hydrogen bonded to the carbonyl group. So in this one, we have two carbons. So its name is methanol. It ends in ethanol. I mean, it ends in Al because it has two carbon atoms. And yeah, this one and this one. But if we have just one carbon, just like this. So this is known as methanol or commonly known as formaldehyde. So next we have the ketone. So ketone have two carbons bonded to the carbonyl group and it ends in ONE. So just like the name itself. So as you can see, there's a two carbon bonded to the carbonyl group. So the name of this one is 1, 2, 3. So it's propanone because it has three carbons. So propanone or commonly known as acetone. So another one is the carboxylic acids. So carboxylic acids have an hydroxyl group or OH group bonded to the carbonyl group. So this one and so this is the carbonyl group and this one is the hydroxyl group. So pag shortcut nyo yan, 'di ba? May makikita kayo commonly na COOH. So that's the carboxyl group or yung COOH, carboxylic acid. So its name ends in oic acid. So we have here two carbons. So this is ethanoic acid. Okay. So pag itong C, so let's replace this carbon atom with hydrogen atom, kunwari. So this one is methanoic acid since isang C lang siya. So, parang HCOOH. Okay. So, propanoic acid, ano pa ba, butanoic acid, pentanoic acid, and so on and so forth. So, we have esters. So, esters have an um, ether-like oxygen bonded to the carbon. Okay? So, ito yung ating carbonyl group at meron tayong isang oxygen na nakakabit dito sa ating carbon ng carbonyl group, and that oxygen is also bonded to carbon. Kasi 'di ba yung sa ether, two carbons are bonded to the same oxygen, 'di ba? But on this one, imbis na H yung nandito, dito sa esters ay oxygen ang nakakabit. Okay, ang nakabond. So, it ends in OH. Okay? So, this one, it's 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I mean, this group has 2 carbons. So, this is ethane, no? Ethyl, I mean. So, that makes it ethyl. And this one is a methyl. So, mas, I mean, titingnan muna yung parent chain na gagamitin natin sa name is on this one, yung dito banda. Ito yung gagamitin natin na parent chain. So, that's ethanoate. Okay? So, this is a methyl group. So, that's methyl ethanoate. Okay? Methyl ethanoate. Okay? So, yung methyl, that's the group that is bonded to the oxygen. So, the ethanoate is the parent chain kung saan nakaband yung ating mga carbons doon kung ilang carbons yung nakaband doon sa ating carbonyl group, including the carbon in that carbonyl group. So, this one is methyl ethanoate. So, meron tayong, if we have here another one, na CH3 din, okay? So, that would make ethyl ethanoate, okay? So, kung meron pa tayong isang CH3 dito sa ating kabilang parent chain, so that's ethyl propanoate. So, ganon. So, another functional group is the thioester. So, it has a sulfide-like sulfur bonded to the carbonyl group. So, kung kanina sa ating esters, oxygen. But dito sa ating thioester, we have sulfur. And it ends in thioate. Okay? So, in this one, we have, ito muna, methyl, and the parent chain, since dalawa, that's ethane thioate. So, that's ethane thioate. Methyl, ethane thioate. Okay. So, that's the name of this compound. So, pag magdadagdag lang tayo dito ng CH3, it makes ethyl. Para magdadagdag tayo dito ng CH3, that's propane. So, this, another compound is the ethyl propane thioate. So, that's the thioester. So, we have another one, the amides. So, amides have an amine-like nitrogen bonded to the carbon double bond oxygen. Okay, so in this case, yung kanina, di ba yung amine natin, ito H lang to. But on this specific functional group, the amides, oxygen yung pumalit doon sa ating hydrogen. So the amides amides end in the amide word. Okay, so this one, it has two carbons, so that's ethanamide. Ethanamide. So the ang E doon sa ethane ay nawala doon sa end ng ethane. So that's ethanamide. Ethanamide. Ayan. So pag magdadagdag ulit tayo dito, propanamide. So ganun lang siya. So ito AH and H. Okay. So another one is the acid chloride. So our carbonyl group, and syempre merong chlorine. So may chloride siya. It has a chlorine bonded to the carbonyl group, and it ends in uh, oil chloride. Okay? So this one, it's ethanol. Ayan. Ethanol chloride kasi dalawang carbon. So that's ethanol chloride. Ayan. So we have another functional group known as the carboxylic acid anhydride. So this functional group two has two carbonyl groups linked by an oxygen, and it ends in oic anhydride. So for example, this one, it has two carbonyl groups. So, and between them is an oxygen atom. And when you name carboxylic anhydride na compound, so we will first look for the anhydride, the carboxylic anhydride functional group. And then we would count how many carbons are bonded to it. So this one, it has two carbons. So two carbons meaning ethane siya. So that's ethanoic anhydride. So hindi na natin binibilang yung carbon doon sa ating functional group. So we have, for example, we have CH3 here, and this one is CH2. So this is propanoic anhydride. So that's so on and so forth. So let's have a simple exercise, a simple problem, I mean. So let's identify the functional groups in the model of aricoline. So aricoline is a veterinary drug that is used to control worms in animals. Okay. So the functional groups we have here is this one. This one. Ayan. So this is an ester, 'di ba? So meron siyang oxygen. And we also have an alkene kasi may carbon to carbon double bond. And we also have an amine group. So it's a nitrogen bonded to carbon. Okay. So exercise, ayan. So that's an amine group, okay? The amine group, this one, alkene, this one, and the ester, which is this one. Okay. So exercise, bakit exercise 13? Okay, exercise 13. Identify the functional groups in each of the following molecules. So you will, just like what I've done, no, uh, circle nyo yung functional group. And then, i-draw nyo muna pala itong structure, and then you will circle the functional groups in this compounds. In these compounds, I mean. Ayan. Tas siyempre, after nyo mabilugan kung ano yung mga functional groups, siyempre lalagyan nyo ng pangalan. Or maybe you can use other colors of ball pen, yung ganyan, yung mga sign pens or anything you have na different colors. So, i-different colors nyo na lang yung ibang functional groups, and then you name them. Okay. Ayan, another one is this one. So, you have three compounds para three compounds to identify their functional groups, the functional groups that they have. Okay. So next is the alkanes and the alkene isomers. Okay. So before we begin a systematic study of the different functional groups, let's look first at the simplest family of molecules, which is the alkanes, for us to develop some general ideas that apply to all families. So alkanes are hydrocarbons. So they are often described as saturated hydrocarbons. Bakit siya hydrocarbons? Because they only contain carbon, hydrogen bonds. And saturated because they only have the carbon to carbon and carbon to hydrogen single bonds and thus contain the maximum possible number of hydrogens per carbon. So, sa lahat daw ng carbon, puro hydrogen lang or and carbon ang naka-bond dito. So that's what makes them saturated hydrocarbon. And they have a also general formula. Okay, so may general formula ang alkanes which is carbon and then NH 2N plus 2. Okay, so where N is the integer. Okay, for example, um, the carbon has 6. Okay, so carbon 6. Okay, dito 6 and H2 times 6 plus 2. 2 times 6 is 12 plus 2 is 14. So that's C6H14. Okay? So ganun lang, ganun kadali kung paano mag-identify ng mga number of hydrogen doon sa carbons natin. So alkanes are also occasionally called as aliphatic compounds. Bakit aliphatic? Because sometimes they exist as fats. So this is a typical animal fat and you can see ano din siya, halos alkanes din siya. Okay? So we have what we call the straight chain alkanes. So straight chain alkanes, the carbons are wherein the carbons are all connected in a row. So, okay. So, we have the butane, the pentane. Ibig sabihin, dire-diretso lang ang C dyan. Pag ganyan lang. Ayan. So, that's straight chain alkanes or the normal alkanes. So, this one is 1, 2, 3, 4. So, this is butane. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is also butane. Okay. So, when we condense the molecular formula of butane, okay, so pwede ding, ay, sorry. So, pwede din siyang ganito. Ibig sabihin, dalawang CH2. Okay, dalawang ganyan. So, there are only one combination for the following alkane. Okay? Kahit pagbalik-balik ta rin mo sila, iisa lang din talaga yung magagawa mong structural formula for these alkanes. The methane, the ethane, and the uh, propane. Okay? So, however, sa larger number of carbons and hydrogen combined, so there are more than one structure that is possible. So, for instance, meron tayong substances na merong C4H10. Okay? So, that's butane. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pwede siyang maging straight chain alkane and pwede siyang maging isobutane. May isang carbon na nag-branch doon sa ating isang um, tawag nito, carbon. So, so this carbon chains ay tinatawag din natin na, or yung mga structures ay tinatawag natin na branch chain alkanes. Yung isobutane natin, yan. And also this one, the 2-methylbutane, ibig sabihin on the second carbon, meron siyang methyl group which is CH3. So, meron siyang 5, C5H12. Pero sa atin, pag sa straight chain alkane, it's just pentane. But on this one, it's 2-methyl butane. And this one, we have the 2,2-dimethylpropane. So, meron siyang, parent chain niya is 1, 2, 3. So, that's propane. And merong naka-attach na 2-methyl groups. So, that's dimethyl. And both have C5H12 na molecular formula. Okay. So these structures are what we call isomers. Okay. So these compounds have the same numbers and kinds of atoms, but they differ in the way that their atoms are arranged. And also, we have here the number of alkane isomers. So in hexane, okay, so in C6H14, meron siyang 5 possible structural formulas or isomers. So meron din tayong tinatawag na constitutional isomers where compounds in the atoms are connected differently. Ayan. So this one. So constitutional isomers are compounds that have the same molecular formula but different structural formulas. So constitutional isomerism is not limited to alkanes. So it occurs widely throughout organic chemistry. So constitutional isomers may have different um, different carbon skeletons. For example, we have butane and the isobutane. So in this one, the carbon skeleton is or the parent chain is just one. So sa isobutane, tatlong carbon yung parent chain niya or the carbon skeleton. So that's propane and merong isang methyl group na nakabit sa kanya on the second carbon. Kaya siya tinatawag din na 2-methyl propane. So we also have the straight chain structure of the butane. So constitutional isomers can also have different functional groups. For this one, we have C2H6 oxygen, o C2H6O. So, pwede siyang ethanol, ibig sabihin dalawang carbon, and then the hydroxyl group that makes it an alcohol. So, that's ethanol. So, pwede din siyang maging dimethyl ether. So, pwede siyang, ang ether, di ba, is an oxygen is bonded to 2 carbon atoms. So, ayan. So, on this one, dalawa ang methyl group, dalawang CH3, though, so that makes it dimethyl ether. So, both of these have the same molecular formula, but they have different structural formulas. So, nagkakaroon siya ng different functional groups. Also, constitution isomerism also um, may also have different position of functional groups. So, we have here, for example, C3H9N. So we have isopropylamine and the propylamine. So in the propylamine, straight chain amine lang siya. So meron siyang tatlong carbon. So that's propyl, and the amine group, which is NH2. So that's propylamine. And we also have the isopropyl amine. So etong amine group is on the second is bonded on the second carbon. So that's constitutional isomerism. So regardless of the reason for the isomerism, constitutional isomers are always different compounds with different properties but with the same formula. Okay? So sa constitutional isomers, hindi dapat sila parehong compounds. Dapat lagi silang magkaibang compounds but with the same molecular formula. So we have here a problem set. So let's try to answer them. Okay. So we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have C6 and H is hydrogen atoms are, there's already 5. 9, and 12, and 14. So C6H14. And this one is also C6, and this is already 7 and 7. So this is 14. So both of them have the same molecular formula, but have let's check their structural formulas. Okay, so this one is a straight chain alkane, and this one is, at first you would see this as a branch alkane, but honestly that is a straight chain alkane also. Nag-iba lang yung position niya. Eh, wala naman nakakabit dito. It's H lang naman. So, straight chain alkane pa siya. So, this is the same compound. So, they are not constitutional isomers. On this one also, we have this one. Let's start with the parent chain. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's C4. Ayan. Ay, C4. Ayan. That's butane. Tama, butane. And then we have methyl. Methyl groups, ilan? Tatlo. So that's trimethylbutane. Okay? On this one naman, the parent group is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's pentane, but only two methyl groups. So that's 2-methylpentane. Okay, so magkaibang compound sila. So this is trimethyl, and this is trimethylbutane, and this is dimethyl uh, pentane. So let's see if their molecular formulas are the same. Okay, so how many carbons? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 carbons, um, and they would have exactly the same number of hydrogen atoms. So different structural formula, but the same molecular formula. So this is constitutional isomers. So that's how we identify which of the following is a constitutional isomers. So let's have this example. Let's draw two isomeric disulfides with the formula. So C4H10S2. So disulfide has this structure. So let's first try to draw the first isomer of these disulfide. So this is a but, but, uh, propane disulfide. So S, S, C. So, meron ng dalawa. And this one is C. And, okay, this is H. H. Okay. And this is H3. And another CH3 here. Okay. H2. So, this is the first isomer disulfide. So, on H side, merong dalawang carbon. Okay? And we can also like draw like this, CH3, then CH2, and CH2, and CH3. Ayan, ganyan lang siya. Okay, so nalipat yung isang H dito sa kabila. So that's how we um, we draw the constitutional isomerism. Okay, so exercise 14. So this is 14. Draw the structures of the isomers of the compounds stated below. Yan. So meron din naman siyang corresponding number of isomers. For this one, propose structures for two isomers with the formula C2H H7N. Okay? So this is an amine. Okay? Draw structures of the 5 isomers of hexane. Okay, so pwede siyang branch, straight chain, yung ganyan-ganyan. Okay. So two isomeric esters with the formula C5H10O2 and nitrile C4H7N. Okay? So may mga functional group naman doon sa previous uh, slides, you could refer to it. Okay. Section 3 of our chapter 3 is about alkyl groups or alkyl groups. Now, alkyl groups are from the alkane, no? So, nag-remove lang naman tayo ng ating isang hydrogen. For instance, this one. So, excuse all the voices that you can hear. This one is a methane. And if we remove one hydrogen, so that makes it an alkyl, or for this one, it's methyl. Okay. Now, alkyl groups are not stable compounds themselves. So they are just part or simply parts of a larger compound. They are named by replacing the A and E ending of the parent alkane with the YL ending. So we have here the methane. So if we remove one hydrogen, so that makes it a methyl group. So we can add a functional group, for instance, the OH, the hydroxyl group. So that this compound makes it an alcohol since merong OH. So methyl alcohol, this is a methanol. Okay. So we can add an amine group, NH2 on this case. So this is a methylamine. So that's the alkyl group. Merong butyl, propyl, pentyl, ganyan. So and so on and so forth. Now here are some of the straight chain alkyl groups. So methyl, ethyl, propyl, butyl, and pentyl or amyl. Okay. Ayan. So these are the three possible, what do you call that, um, what do you call that, three possible isomers or structural formula of propyl. Okay, so just as straight chain alkyl groups are generated by removing a hydrogen from an carbon, yung branch alkyl groups are also generated by removing a hydrogen atom from an internal carbon. And so propane, so propane. So, dinilit natin yung isang carbon or maybe here, for instance. Ayan. So, naging propyl. So, this is isopropyl. Okay. So, isopropyl. So, nagbaliktad yung kanyang placement. Napunta siya dito. Okay. So, that's isopropyl. So, we have also here the butane, the isomers of the butyl group. This one is the straight chain butyl. So we have the sec butyl. Napunta siya sa gitna ng dalawang carbon. Ayan. We have the isobutyl. Ayan. And we have the tert butyl. So, ano ba itong sec and tsaka tert, no? So, sec and tert are prefixes that refer to the number of other carbon atoms attached to the branching carbon atom. So, we have the primary carbon, which is bonded to one other carbon. So, these are the four possibilities. Okay, we have the primary, the secondary, the tertiary, and the quaternary. Okay, so we have the primary carbon or the 1 degree. Okay, so or the first degree. Ayan. So, dito, ang ating primary carbon is bonded to one other carbon. Okay, so pwedeng ang R na ito, so this symbol R is used here and throughout organic chemistry to represent a generalized organic group. So the R group can be methyl, can be ethyl, the propyl, or any sorts of multitude of others. Okay. So, dito, sige, sabihin na natin itong CH3. Okay. All these are represent CH3. So, dito lang ha. Dito lang sa example na to, CH3. So, secondary carbon or the second degree is bonded to two other carbons. Okay. Dalawang carbon. Sa tertiary, tatlong carbon ang naka-attach doon sa sa ating tertiary carbon. And this one is the quaternary carbon. Ibig sabihin, ang lahat na nakaband sa kanya ay carbons. So that's the uh, degrees of carbon. Now, so in addition, we also speak of hydrogen atoms as being primary, as secondary, or tertiary. Okay, so primary hydrogen atoms are attached to primary carbons. So this one is a primary carbon since nakakabit lang naman siya or nakaband lang naman siya sa isang carbon. Okay? Ayan, this one is a primary carbon, primary carbon, primary carbon. So, lahat ng hydrogen na nakaband sa ating primary carbon is also a primary hydrogen. So, the secondary carbon, this one, it is bonded to two other carbons. Ayan. So, the hydrogen bonded to it is uh, termed also as secondary hydrogens or hydrogen atoms. Ang gulo. Now, on this one, the tertiary carbon, this is a tertiary carbon because it is bonded to three other carbon atoms. Okay? So, yung automatically, yung hydrogen niya is also in a third degree. Okay. Ayan. So, why is it walang quaternary, no? Walang quaternary hydrogen. So, there is no such thing as a quaternary hydrogen. Bakit? No? So, you can search for that. I will not give you the answer. So on this exercise, so this should be exercise 3. So the exercise 2 is yung exercise 1 and the exercise 1 is the exercise 13. Okay. I'll just edit it out na lang later. Okay, now exercise 2, you draw the 8 carbon alkyl groups or the pentyl isomers. Okay, so the pentyl isomers, ito yung 5 carbon alkyl group. So you draw the 8 isomers of that alkyl group. Second is identify the carbon and hydrogen atoms in the following molecules as primary, secondary, tertiary, or quaternary. Okay, so this carbons, ayan. So, pwede nyo siyang i-draw itong buong compound. Ayan, so itong buong compound. And then you would just, and ito first, this one is 2, this one is 3, so on and so forth. And also, so once you identified the carbons, so you would also identify the degrees of the hydrogen atom bonded to it. Okay. Now, number 3, draw the structures of alkanes that meet the following descriptions. Okay, so dapat makadraw kayo ng alkane na merong tertiary carbons. Ano ba yung may tertiary carbons? May tatlong carbon na nakaband doon sa ating carbon. Okay, so this description and also this description. Okay, now let's find out how to name alkanes. So before, in earlier times, no, when relatively few pure organic chemicals were known, new compounds were named at the whim of their discoverer. So, for example, urea. So, urea is a crystalline substance that is isolated from urine. Okay. So, yung name niya is from 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 where it is found. Okay. So, sa urine. The morphine. So, morphine is an analgesic or a painkiller named after Morpheus, the Greek god of dreams. So when you dream, you you don't feel pain, right? And we also have acetic acid. So acetic acid is the primary organic constituent of sugar, of vinegar, I mean. So which is named from the Latin word for vinegar, acetum. Okay, so acetic, acetum. So as chemistry grew in the 19th century, the system of naming compounds was also developed. So yung International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry, or with with the abbreviation of IUPAC, okay, usually pronounced as IUPAC. So nagawa itong IUPAC name. So nabago yung naming ng ating mga compounds. Um, So now, yung ating mga chemical name, so it typically has four parts sa IUPAC system of nomenclature. So we have the prefix, the parent, the locant, and the suffix. So yung prefix, it identifies the various substituent groups in the molecule. So these substituents are the alkyl groups or kung ano man yan. And then the parent selects the main part of the molecule and it tells how many carbon atoms are in that part. And the locant is it gives the positions of the functional groups and the substituents. So mostly ang locant is yung mga number 1,3 methyl, 1,4 dimethyl, mga ganun. And then the suffix, it identifies the primary functional group. If it's ethanol, if it's alcohol, if it's an amide, an amine, or so on and so forth. So in step one is we find the parent hydrocarbon. So we will find, in finding the parent carbon, we will find the longest carbon chain, kung sino yung pinakamadaming carbon atom. And it is not always, in finding the parent hydrocarbon, hindi lang siya talagang diretso lang. So we would have to turn corners, okay? On this one, if we will just count the carbon na diretso lang. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just pentane. So 5 carbons. But if we would turn corners, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So mas madami siya. So this is the parent chain of this compound. So this is a hexane. Okay? On this one, if we would count na dire-diretso lang, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's pentane. But when we turn corners, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So naging heptane siya. We can also try counting like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 carbons lang. And we could try 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Anim lang din. So the longest continuous chain of carbon is this, the heptane. Okay? So any possible na direction, no? Pero dapat tuloy-tuloy lang, no? Continuous chain of carbon atoms lang dapat. So in this one we have heptane. Step 2, number the atoms in the longest chain. At pag nag-number tayo ng atoms sa longest chain, dapat doon tayo mauuna kung saan unang nag-branch, kung saan mas malapit yung first branch point, no? So on this one, and let's have this one first. This one. So if we count if we count the carbons from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the first branch point is the number 4 carbon, this one. So ito ang nag-branch siya. But on this one, okay, so when we count here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So unang branch point niya is on the third carbon. nagkaroon siya ng methyl group. Okay? So that's step number 2. Number the atoms in the longest chain wherein the beginning is at the end nearer the first branch point. Okay. Now, third is identify and number the substituents. Okay, so mag-a-assign na tayo ng lokan. Okay. So on this one, uh, uh, let's try the first step, which is identify the longest continuous carbon chain. Okay. So, 1, 2, pag dito, pag ito lang bibilang natin is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It has 8 carbon atoms. And this one naman is 1. Mag-take turns tayo. Dito tayo. Dito naman tayo. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It just has only 8. But on this one, if we would follow this chain, it has 9 carbon atoms, so that makes it a nonane. Now, if we will number them, so mas mauuna tayo doon sa pinakamalapit na nag-branch out, which is this one. 1, 2, 3. Meron na agad tayong nag-branch. Pero pwede na naman dito, 1, 2, 3. O kasi nag-branch out naman agad yung methyl. Kasi, kaya nauna siya dito, kasi mas maraming carbon yung nandito naka-attach doon sa first branch. So, this one is ethyl and this is only methyl. Isa lang yung carbon and ethyl has dalawang carbon. So, yun, dito nagsimula sa kabila. Kaya, ganon ang pagbilang niya. Okay? So I hope that's that's clear. Okay? So 1, 2, 3. On the third carbon, we have ethyl, kaya 3 ethyl. On the fourth carbon, we have methyl, kaya 4 methyl. And on the seventh carbon, we also have 7 methyl. Okay? Now, if there are 2 substituents on the same carbon, give both the same number. So, for example, we have this. This is a hexane. Okay? So, on the third carbon, ayan, on the fourth carbon, so merong dalawang substituents, diba? So, yan ay 4-methyl and then 4-ethyl. Ganun pa rin. Same lang din naman sila ng locant. Okay, on the second, we have methyl. Okay? Now, step 4 is write the name as a single word. And we use hyphens to separate the different prefixes and use comma to separate the numbers or to separate the locants. And if 2 or more different substituents are present, cite them in alphabetical order. Hindi, sa pag-write, hindi siya, ay mas madaming carbon siya ang mauuna. Ito mas konting carbon, ito yung mahuli, or ito yung mauuna. So, we will write them in alphabetical order. Kunwari, 2,2 methyl, ayan, 2,2 methyl, ethyl, propane. That one. So our what do you call this? So our parent chain is propane, okay? So mali agad itong methyl ethyl, okay? Kasi in alphabetical order, it should be 2,2 methyl, 2,2 ethyl methyl, okay? To meet this standard, the alphabetical order. Now, if 2 or more identical substituents are present on the parent chain, use one of the multiplier prefixes di, tri, tetra, and so forth. But don't use these prefixes for alphabetizing. Kunyari, we have, ito na lang muna ang gamitin natin. 3-methyl hexane. Okay, so 3-methyl hexane. Okay, let's find first the longest chain. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But when we take turns, ito yung naging parent chain niya, it has 6 carbons. So mas tututukan natin siya. And we would number them kung saan mas malapit yung first branch, which is this one, yung first branch. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, ang kanyang substituent is methyl. So, and it is located in the third carbon. So, that's 3 hyphen methyl hexane. Okay. So, on this one naman, 3-ethyl 4,7-dimethylnonane. So, yung sinabi kanina na na kung may identical substituents, magagamit tayo ng mga prefixes na ito, di, tri, tetra. Pero hindi na natin to gagamitin para sa alphabetizing. Magfo-focus pa rin tayo doon sa ating substituent. Okay? So, we have this, 3-ethyl 4,7-dimethylnonane. So, as you can see, na in, ang longest chain niya has 9 carbons. Ayan. Pag dito naman tayo nagsimula, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 lang. But this one ay 9. Okay? Ayan. So, on the third carbon, may ethyl. Bakit nga ethyl, bakit dito tayo nagsimula at hindi dito? Since kahit naman dito may first branch on the third carbon, kasi mas madaming carbon ang ating ethyl kesa dito sa ating methyl. So, that's 3-ethyl, and then 4, 7 on the fourth carbon, and in the seventh carbon, parehas na methyl. So, ginamitan ng prefix na dimethyl. So, di means 2, right? So, dimethylnonane. Okay? So, as you can see, nauna pa rin yung letter E kaysa letter D kasi we do not use the prefixes doon sa ating substituent. We focus on our substituent lang. So, methyl, I mauuna ang E kesa sa M. So, 3-ethyl 4,7-dimethylnonane. So, this one, 3-ethyl 2-methylhexane. So, straight chain niya or the longest carbon niya is hexane. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbons. And we numbered it doon sa pinakamalapit na first branch point, which is on the second carbon. So, on the second carbon, meron ng methyl. And on the third carbon, merong ethyl. So, 1, 2, 3. So, 3-ethyl, nauna pa rin ang ethyl, and 2-methyl hexane. And this one is 4-ethyl, 3-methyl heptane. So, 7 carbons, pero pag in-straight chain natin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it has only 5 carbons. So, ang ginamit niya ay itong longest continuous chain. And nag-number siya kung saan nagkaroon ng first branch point, which is doon sa third carbon niya, kung saan yan ay ang methyl or the CH3. And on the fourth carbon, meron siyang ethyl, which is CH2, CH3. So, ayan siya, 4-ethyl, 3-methyl heptane. And meron din dito sa ating last example, ang ginamit niya na parent ay itong straight chain kasi yun ang pinakamarami. So, that has 6 carbons. So, pag ginamit naman natin to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, we could try this one also, no? We could try also this one and this one. But we would first uh what do you call this? We would first try this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ayan. So sa second carbon niya may nag-branch out na agad na methyl. On the fourth carbon may nag-branch out na ethyl at saka methyl at saka ethyl. So dito tayo sa mauuna doon sa may nag-branch point doon sa may second. So this one is 4-ethyl 2,4-dimethylhexane. But let us have this carbon chain. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, hexane din siya. Ayan. And then, ang first branch out niya ay 1, 2, 3. So, nag-branch siya sa third, but on this one, 1, 2 sa second pa lang. So, meron na siyang, so ito 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So, sa second carbon, meron siyang ethyl. On the fourth carbon, meron siyang methyl at saka ethyl. So, the name still applies kahit dito tayo maggamit ng longest chain. So, now let us try drawing the structures of the following alkanes. So first, we have the 3-ethyl 3,4-dimethylhexane. So in drawing the structure of alkanes, so pabaliktad tayo ngayon mag-identify. So we would like start here sa parent chain, papunta pa ganito. Okay? So hexane. So hexane has 6 carbons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in drawing structures of alkanes, pag magna-number ka na, pwede ka naman kahit saan magsimula. Pwedeng dito sa right or sa left. Kasi it depends naman on you kung saan mo gusto mag-start. But I would prefer to start dito sa left. Okay? So, on the third carbon, meron daw siyang ethyl. Okay? Third carbon, 1, 2, 3. So, third carbon, meron daw siyang ethyl. So, CH2, CH3. Ayan. And this is 2. Ayan. And on the third carbon also, meron siyang methyl. Okay, dito sa taas, ilagay ko CH3. On the fourth carbon, meron din daw siyang methyl. Okay, ayan. So, the remaining bonds ay H na yan lahat. Okay? That's H. So this is 3-ethyl 3,4-dimethylhexane. Okay? So let's try another one. The 6-butyl 4,6-ethyl 2,5-dimethylnane. So the parent chain is the name. So it has 9 carbons. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay? So I would number my structure from here, like from the left. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, on the fourth carbon, meron nag-branch out na butyl. So, ang butyl natin has 4. Okay? CH2, CH2, and CH2, and CH3. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Butyl. On the sixth carbon, meron tayong ethyl. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, ethyl, we have CH2 and then CH3. And on the second carbon, meron daw akong methyl. Okay, I would CH3. And on the fifth carbon, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, meron akong methyl again. Okay. So I just, fill all the remaining bonds with hydrogen. Okay. 1, 2, 3. So you can write also like this, okay? Kesa yung kaninang ginawa ko sa first example na nag-branch pa yung mga carbon, ay yung mga hydrogen, okay? So this is 4 butyl 6 ethyl 2,5-dimethylnonane. So that's how you draw the structures of alkanes. Now, on this exercise, so nagmali-mali yung mga exercises ko pag number ko ng exercise. So I will just edit it out later. So, you will name the following alkanes according to IUPAC name, the IUPAC nomenclature, okay? And then you draw the structure of the following 3 isopropyl 2 methylhexane and 2,2,4-trimethylpentane. Tri, it has 3 methyl in the pentane. Okay, so that ends our chapter, our unit 3. Good luck.